The Oreitan laser-based air defensive system has been operationally deployed as the IDF declares that all fronts are still open. Iran is in shock. Turkey looks with envy. And armies around the world are taking note. In the northern arena, the United States is putting pressure on the internationally recognized government to disarm Hezbollah, but it is an impossible mission for them. America's envoy has warned that soon the IDF may open a new front in order to ensure its own security. A senior Israeli security official has warned that Israel is at a very decisive security crossroad, and again, all fronts remain open. Speaking of which, senior Hamas figure Muhammad Abu Tir was arrested and is being held in the Nukba terrorist wing. However, Hamas also moved the remains of a fallen hostage from a structure in the city of Jabalia instead of handing over to the Red Cross. Because of games like this that Hamas keeps playing, President Trump's plan for Gaza is stuck. And on top of that, the fear of clashes with Hamas is driving countries away from contributing soldiers to the international force. However, some phases of Gaza reconstruction have already begun, and we'll tell you all about a maternity ward which was rebuilt in a hospital that Hamas used to use as a military headquarters in Gaza. On another front, in Syria, the IDF has come into direct confrontation with ISIS, arresting a number of Daesh terrorists in a sweep operation, while in Judea and Samaria, the IDF uncovered a Hamas terror cell in a village that thousands of Israelis come to for shopping. So welcome to Boots on the Ground. I'm your host, Yair Pinto, bringing you all the truth about what's happening here in Israel. Let's go over our headlines for today. The security reality in Israel is volatile as Hamas is rehabilitating in the Gaza Strip. Hezbollah still constitutes a serious threat in Lebanon, and Iran's Revolutionary Guard are quietly preparing for another round, advancing in missile production and prompting the IDF to make plans as action may be required very soon. In Syria, the security vacuum is dangerous and may lead to an escalation in fighting, while in Yemen, they are drawing inspiration from October 7th, and in Judea and Samaria, a warring terrorist organization is being recorded. However, Israel has made some progress in preparations for another round as well. This week, the Oreitan laser-based air defensive system entered full operational activity and has been deployed in northern Israel as an addition to the Israeli defensive array. A Ministry of Defense statement said that our enemies are learning and preparing day by day. This period brings with it uncertainty and risks, but also great strategic opportunities for those who understand the moment. We will bring you all the details. And meanwhile, after members of the terrorist organization Hamas entered the area approved for them for locating fallen, the terrorists were seen leaving the structure with something hidden in a blanket. The suspicion is that this is the remains of one of the hostages that Israel demanded to be located. At first, they announced that they would release remains on Monday evening, but Israeli officials warned that, for now, there is no expectation of release. The intelligence echelon assessed that this is all part of a campaign of psychological pressure, as well as uncertainty in the identification. In any case, President Trump's plan for Gaza has become stuck as the fear of clashes with Hamas is driving countries away from contributing soldiers to the international force. Indonesia is significantly reducing the scope of its participation. Azerbaijan is backing down, and the lack of Arab support increases doubts while Hamas declares that it will fight any attempt to disarm it. However, some progress is being made. About a month and a half after the start of the ceasefire, they have begun to rebuild the largest hospital in the Gaza Strip, which during the war was revealed to have turned into a full-fledged terrorist headquarters. Activity is resuming partially, and in Israel, there are fears that the terrorist organization will again use it for its needs. In the northern arena, the IDF set out on an operation to thwart terrorism in Syria, resulting in the termination of 2 terrorists that are affiliated with Daesh, the Islamic State, while 3 others were arrested. The actions led to the seizure of personal weapons, ammunition, explosive belts, and a variety of charges. All this while both Hamas and Islamic Jihad have recently begun to strengthen their hold in the new Syria. Next door in Lebanon, the internationally recognized government is not expected to meet the target set by the United States to disarm Hezbollah by December 31st. This is a situation that raises the risk of a significant escalation. Tom Barak, President Trump's envoy to Syria, conveyed a message to the Prime Minister of Iraq ahead of an IDF operation against Hezbollah. According to a report in the El Hadati, Barak warned that the pro-Iranian militias in the country would be heavily attacked if they intervene on behalf of the Lebanese terrorist organization. Meanwhile, the IDF is operating extensively in Judea and Samaria to locate labs and bombs and laboratories that convert airsoft weapons into real firearms. In the past 2 weeks, 6 terrorists were eliminated, 20 charges were seized, along with other equipment. As you can see, we have a lot to talk about today, so let's dive into the details. I'm Yair Pinto, and this is your Boots on the Ground report, bringing you all the truth of what's happening in Israel during the war against Hamas, Hezbollah, the Houthis in Yemen, the Shia militias in Iraq, and all the other armed groups in this region that are operating under the command and the control of Iran's Islamic Revolutionary Guards Corps, which is the head of the crumbling axis of evil in the Middle East. A moment before we begin, I want to call on you to keep spreading the truth. Share this content with anybody who wants to know what's happening in Israel. Make sure to leave a like, leave a comment, and if you want to follow us on social media networks, make sure to only follow official accounts of Yair Pinto and Mati Shoshani. Thank you. Now, let's get to the news, and we'll start this report with the latest developments in the Gaza Strip. Israel's intelligence echelon is now examining why Hamas refrained from transferring the remains of the kidnapped fallen that were found in the digging operation carried out on Monday morning at 2 locations in the northern Gaza Strip. The prevailing assessment is that Hamas is avoiding handing over the fallen for 2 reasons. First, it is conducting a cynical psychological war, and second, it is not certain about the identification of the fallen. As a reminder, since last Thursday, Hamas members have been conducting searches at several locations in the Bet Lahia and Jabalia area. This morning, they located and uncovered 5 bodies at 2 sites, 4 bodies in one grid cell, and in another, an additional fallen was found. Hamas's examination determined that the 4 bodies are of Hamas members, and the assessment is that the additional remains are of a kidnapped Israeli. However, that is not for certain. At present, the remains of Ran Guyali, an IDF soldier from the Yassam unit, as well as the Thai citizen Snotisak Ranetalak, are still unaccounted for. But a security official says that Hamas knows exactly where the 2 fallen are located. And as a reminder, Israel confirmed last night that it allowed the International Red Cross and several Hamas terrorists to cross the yellow line into the Israeli side in the northern parts of the Gaza Strip in the area of Bet Lahia to search for the 2 fallen Israeli hostages, their remains. In recent hours, Hamas members have been operating in a grid cell inside the Bet Lahia neighborhood using a bulldozer and engineering equipment to try to locate the kidnapped fallen. In related news, senior political officials say that the deployment of an international force to stabilize the Gaza Strip, which is considered a central component of President Trump's peace plan for the Gaza Strip for the day after, is struggling to get off the ground because the states that are expected to contribute soldiers to this force have become more hesitant and cautious. In the countries that are supposed to be participating in this force, there is growing concern that their soldiers will find themselves in situations where they will be required to use force against Hamas terrorists, and therefore, several countries are retracting their willingness to send forces. Indonesia, which declared it would spend up to 20,000 soldiers for this effort to the peacekeeping mission is now examining sending a much smaller force. Also, political officials said that Azerbaijan, which was expected to send forces, has also changed its position. In parallel, no Arab country has committed to send soldiers. The issue of disarming Hamas is the main problem that deters these countries from participating in the force, as from their perspective, this is an impossible mission. As time passes, the motivation of these countries to participate in the force is declining, and doubts are increasing regarding the possible success of Trump's plan. Speaking of Trump's plan, the United States set a target to deploy the force in the Gaza Strip in January, and the force's training and logistical arrangements are supposed to take several weeks, but at the moment, it seems that this entire move is stuck. While all of this is going on, it is not quiet in the Gaza Strip. Hamas continues to send terrorists to probe the Yellow Line, trying to find weak points within the IDF forces. So far, the IDF has firmly pushed back against all of these attempts, leading to the elimination of several Hamas terrorists. Earlier, we reported that according to a series of publications in Arab media, the IDF expanded over the past week the areas of the Yellow Line, the eastern buffer zone of the Gaza Strip, and moved the boundary and their markers about 300 meters westward along the border. According to the reports, the eastern area remains empty of population and is now under full Israeli control, while most of the Gaza Strip's residents are concentrated in the western part under Hamas control. At the same time, the IDF published footage of engineering operations in Rafah, including clearing rubble and preparing for the construction of temporary residential areas. The publications also describe an intense internal discourse between Israel's political and security echelons regarding the long-term significance of the expanded Yellow Line. Against the backdrop of the ongoing delay in establishing the international force that was supposed to operate in Gaza, security officials in Israel expressed an explicit concern that the eastern area may become a space whose status resembles Area C in Judea and Samaria, that it could become an area under full Israeli control and civil control if a clear framework is not defined for the day after. According to the reports, both in Israel and in the United States of America, the idea is strengthening that security responsibility on the eastern side, and it would be transferred to an international force as soon as this becomes a possibility. In related news, in recent days, videos documenting extensive reconstruction works in the women's and maternity wing at the Shifa Hospital in Gaza City. It is a building that was almost completely destroyed in the war, have been reconstructed, and it has been circulated also on social media networks, the Shifa Hospital in Gaza. This is despite an acute shortage of construction materials, basic medical equipment, and advanced devices. Workers in the Gaza Strip managed to renew part of the activity of the site. The entry of funds for the purpose of rehabilitating the Gaza Strip or the entry of engineering equipment and construction materials is not officially expected until the beginning of Phase B of the ceasefire agreement, and only after the return of the two remaining fallen remains of the Israeli hostages in Gaza. One is a Thai citizen and the other Israeli. For now, it is unclear where the funding for the hospital's reconstruction project came from, but in Gaza, they have already begun the work. I say, good for them. I hope more reconstruction work happens in the Gaza Strip soon, so that the people who live there can have a decent life and stop trying so hard to ruin my life and the lives of millions of Israelis here on our side. It's something to hope for, and more importantly, it's something to pray for. However, alongside the images from Gaza, Israel recalls the findings that were presented by the IDF during the war, including documents, photos, and videos, which according to the defense establishment proved that Hamas turned the hospital into a full-fledged military operating area. According to the IDF, a Hamas tunnel infrastructure operated beneath the compound, and hostages were held there in the first minutes after their abduction, while command and control rooms operated beneath and adjacent to the building. In March of last year, a Hamas terrorist captured at the hospital said in his interrogation that the maternity ward had become a headquarters of the jihad. In Israel, they emphasize that this is one of the most prominent cases in which a terrorist organization exploits a humanitarian medical institution for military needs, which is a grave violation of international law. Hamas, for its part, rejected the claims and called them Israeli propaganda, which is a word that liars always use when they get called out under deceit and their lies, when they're caught. In any case, in Gaza, they are presenting the partial resumption of activity at the hospital as a symbol of resilience and recovery. But Israeli officials have warned of the possibility that Hamas will exploit the reconstruction to once again operate military infrastructures under civilian cover and use the people of the hospitals as human shields. For the international community, the reality is complex. On the one hand, this is a central medical institution for an exhausted civilian population. On the other hand, it is a site that, according to the IDF, served Hamas for intensive terrorist activity. So, around the world, they wonder whether the current renovation is primarily a humanitarian move intended to save a collapsing health system, or part of Gaza's cognitive battle against Israel, and what the implications will be for the return to activity of one of the Strip's most sensitive sites. In the meantime, the Shifa Medical Center continues to symbolize Gaza's complexity. This is a vitally medical center at the heart of a confrontation and at the heart of a dispute over the Strip's future. And here at TBN Israel, we will continue to spread the truth. So as always, we invite you to be part of the team. If you're not subscribed to this channel yet, TBN Israel, make sure to take a moment, hit the subscribe button. It really helps us to reach more people with what's happening in Israel so that you will know how to pray for the peace of Jerusalem. Now, I want to take a moment to tell you about one of our partners. As we enter the Christmas season, the season that takes us back to Bethlehem, to the place where Jesus was born, I want to speak from the heart about this land that I call home. Israel has been through so much these past years. Recovery is happening, but it's taking time. It's slow. Communities are still rebuilding. Families are still healing. And tourism, one of the major engines of Israel's economy, is barely breathing right now. Despite that, Israel is healing. But healing takes time. It takes faith, and it takes friends. So people ask me, what can I do to help Israel right now? And my answer is simple. This is the season to bless Israel. That's why I'm proud to stand with Arza, an Israeli small business that I've worked with for years. Arza partners with artisans from Jerusalem to the Galilee and Bethlehem, creating beautiful handmade treasures straight from the Holy Land. Each season, they gather these gifts into an Arza box and deliver it to your doorstep. So if you've never been to Israel, it's a real taste of the Holy Land, the land of the Bible. If you have been here, it will take you right back. Many behind Arza served in Israel's reserves, in the IDF, during this war, close to the front lines. These are courageous men and women rebuilding life with their own hands. So, when you purchase an Arza box, you're not just giving a gift, you're blessing Israel, keeping small businesses alive and strengthening families as they rebuild. This year's Christmas box is themed Nativity Night, bringing that holy night in Bethlehem into your home. So please, don't wait. Go to arzabox.com right now and use the code TBNIL for 20% off of your subscription. Again, that's arzabox.com/TBNIL, and make sure to use the coupon code TBNIL for an extra 20% off of your subscription. Now, we're switching our focus to the northern arena, and we'll start with what's going on in Lebanon. But to talk about Lebanon today, we need to take a look for just a moment at what happened in Iraq this week. This is as the American envoy Tom Barak was in Baghdad on Sunday to meet with the Prime Minister of Iraq, Mohammed Shiha el-Sudani. The conversation lasted more than 70 minutes and dealt with the messages that Barak conveyed to the Iraqi leadership. According to sources in Baghdad, the American envoy asked el-Sudani to play a positive role in stabilizing Syria and updated him regarding the latest developments on the Lebanese file. An advisor in the Iraqi government said that Barak conveyed the message that the pro-Iranian militias must avoid any action that might assist Hezbollah in Lebanon, whether economically or militarily. The main message was to prevent Iraq's involvement in any escalation in this region. In case you didn't hear about it anywhere else, last May, the Prime Minister of Lebanon, Nawaf Salam, declared that 80% of the target for the disarmament of the southern Lebanon has been achieved. However, an Israeli military official who spoke to the British Telegraph anonymously said that it is difficult to accept this number. The official explained that although the Lebanese army is acting positively and in ways not seen for decades, it is not doing enough. The central challenge, he said, is Hezbollah's entrenchment within private civilian infrastructure, including homes and farms, and Lebanese army refrains from entering private homes and hesitates to confront local Shia residents, and Hezbollah exploits this situation. The official clarified that even if the Lebanese army declares the area completely clean at the end of the year, Israel will not accept this without addressing the private infrastructures where the real threat is living. The internationally recognized government of Lebanon seems to understand that failure to disarm Hezbollah could entail wide regional repercussions and endanger relations with the American administration. This is after the White House approved a $230 million aid package for the Lebanese army to carry out the plan. However, the simple fact of the matter is that the government cannot force the army to do its job if the army doesn't want to. And with that in mind, Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu has ordered regular strikes on Hezbollah targets in Lebanon following the ceasefire agreement, and Israel has identified growing efforts by Hezbollah to smuggle weapons from Syria and rebuild its capabilities, mainly north of the Litani River. The IDF assesses that it has eliminated 370 Hezbollah operatives during the year-long ceasefire, and in an airstrike last week, Haitham Ali Tabtabi, the organization's military commander, was also eliminated, a step perceived as a message to the Lebanese government that Israel's patience is running out. And here at TBN Israel, we will continue to bring you all the truth about what's happening in Israel. So please leave a comment, give a like, and share this content with as many people as possible. And of course, if you haven't already, make sure to subscribe to TBN Israel, the YouTube channel, so you never miss another episode of Boots on the Ground. Look, I want to give you for a moment a clear picture, a current security status that outlines a very volatile reality, one that requires Israel to stand alert on all fronts simultaneously in defense, but also in offense. We'll start in Gaza. Hamas, despite the heavy blows it has suffered, has not disappeared. On the contrary, it is trying to rehabilitate itself. According to assessment, it has tens of thousands of terrorists remaining and hundreds of rockets, some of them ready for launch. In the defense establishment, they say clearly, the war in Gaza is not yet finished. Israel is determined to prevent the normalization of this organization and its rebuilding. We do not want this organization to return to being a significant military and political force at any cost, and it may already soon have to do this by force. Lebanon. The northern front will likely soon become the central arena. Hezbollah has been weakened but is far from finished. Assessments speak of tens of thousands of fighters and an arsenal worn down to fewer than 10,000 rockets, only a few of which are actually precise, accurate rockets. In Jerusalem, they view this moment as a historic opportunity. Hezbollah can be disarmed, and if the Lebanese government does not do this, Israel will do it itself, perhaps very soon. The elimination of Tabtabi, it seems, is only the beginning of the story, and it is not the last. Iran. There is a relatively quiet in the Islamic Republic of Iran. They are racing forward. The development of ballistic missiles is advancing rapidly. The gaps are narrowing. The capabilities are again becoming a real threat to Israel. In the defense establishment, they assess that another operation may be required to prevent Iran from becoming a force that threatens our very existence. Syria. The story is more complex than it seems. Key figures such as El-Julani are in the sights of opponents of this regime, and the security vacuum is drawing into it extremist terrorist elements from ISIS to Hamas affiliates. The meaning? If they succeed in eliminating him, as is assessed in Israel as a very plausible scenario, the defense establishment may within a short time move from passive defense along the border to a full combat posture inside Syria. The next explosion in that location, in Syria, is only a matter of time. And now to Yemen. In Israel, they express satisfaction with a sequence of actions, at the top of which is that the Houthi leadership was eliminated, including their chief of staff and the defense minister. At the same time, they understand that they too draw inspiration from the 7th of October, and they know that although the overland distance is great, it can be traveled with a lot of motivation on their part. Therefore, this arena is treated not as one that is 2,000 kilometers away, but as only about 2 kilometers with all that it implies. They're preparing for a ground invasion, but they're far away. And last, the arena that deprives the defensive establishment of sleep is Judea and Samaria. A senior official tells us this evening that we are not strong enough there, intelligence-wise. Dangerous weapons are flowing in. Terror organizations are gaining confidence and know-how, and the system has prepared for the possibility that a scenario like October 7th will erupt from there suddenly. Even if at lower intensities than what happened in Gaza, it could still be a game-changing event. The warning is clear. We must prepare for it right now. The terrorist organizations have understood that stabbing, ramming, and pinpointed shooting attacks will not achieve their malicious goals, and they draw inspiration from the massacre that Hamas carried out in the south and are training for such a scenario. So these are 6 arenas, 6 points of friction, all simultaneously. Israel is standing on a regional fault line and is making these days decisions that will determine what the coming years will look like. So with all of that in mind, I want to once again invite you to be part of the team by helping us spread the truth. So share this content, leave a like, leave a comment, tell a friend, and make sure to subscribe to TBN Israel on YouTube so that you never miss another episode of Boots on the Ground. And now, we conclude with a look at the latest tool that Israel has developed to defend our homeland against the ever-increasing threat of missiles, rockets, and drones. I'm talking about the Or Eitan laser-based air defensive system, which has finally entered operational activity. On December 30th, it will be officially received by the IDF, and it is already being deployed in the northern part of the country as part of the defense array against Hezbollah's rockets and UAVs. The head of MAFAT, Dr. Danny Gold, announced at the Defense Tech Conference this past week that the system's development has been completed. And at the Ministry of Defense, they speak of a global leap in air defensive abilities. According to Gold, Or Eitan is a high-power, laser-based active defense system that fires a focused beam at the speed of light, locks onto a target, and heats it until it disintegrates in the air, including rockets, mortars, UAVs, and drones at short ranges. Instead of a missile that costs tens of thousands of dollars, each shot costs only a few shekels and relies on electricity. So as long as there is power, there is the interceptions, almost without limit. The system was developed at Rafael in cooperation with Elbit and is considered the world's first operational laser interception system. It is named after the late Captain Eitan Ostra, whose father was one of the senior engineers in this project. Already on October 2024, a smaller version, Lehav Barzel, or Iron Blade, was developed in the north and carried out a first interception of a UAV and then dozens more interceptions of aircrafts and launches from Lebanon, a live battlefield trial that now enables the declaration of full operational readiness. The Director General of the Ministry of Defense, Major General Amir Baram, said at the conference that all the fronts are still open, but Israel is transitioning from a cyber nation into a defense tech nation. Hundreds of Israeli startups and defensive firms are developing the next generation of offensive and defensive systems for a future confrontation with Iran, and the new laser in the north is only a taste of what is still to come. According to him, in 2024, the Ministry of Defense signed 21 government-to-government agreements worth billions and invested about $1.2 billion in more than 300 startups, which has made Tel Aviv the third largest defense tech hub in the world. Indeed, the last few weeks, the websites that report on defense issues have posted dozens of stories about armies around the world buying Israeli defensive systems, which will create and maintain thousands of jobs in Israel for many years to come, as well as fueling our own defensive buildup against many threats that we face. So let's pray for this situation. When we do, let's make it personal. Let's pray for our leaders. Let's pray for God's will to be done in this land, in this region. Let's pray for all those the innocent lives that are affected by these terrorist regime, to have God's peace in their hearts. Let's pray for the idea of soldiers. Let's pray for our team here at TBN Israel. Let's pray for all of you to receive the truth, to share it bravely, and for God to protect you. Let's pray for the peace of Jerusalem.
Hello, this is Mati here in Jerusalem with TBN Israel.
This is Yair Pinto from TBN Israel here in Jerusalem. TBN Israel is keeping viewers informed with Israel-focused news, culture, and what God is doing in this land.
Support TBN Israel today online at tbn.org/Israel. Thank you.